सगारा हे दास करुणा कोरी ओ हे वैष्णव ठाकुरा दयर सगारा हे दास करुणा कोरी दिया पद छाया शोधोए अमाया तुम्हारा चरण धोरी दिया पद छाया शोधोए अमाया तुम्हारा चरण धोरी छाय बेगदो में क्षय दोष शोधि क्षय गुण देहु दासे छाय बेगदो में क्षय दोष शोधि क्षय गुण देहो दासे क्षय सतसंगा देहो ये हमारे बोसे संगेरा से छाया सतसंग ते होए हमारे बोसे संगेरा से एकाकी हमारा नहीं पाय बाला हरि नाम संकीर्तने एकाकी हमारा नहीं पाय बाला हरि नाम संकीर्तने तुम्हें कृपा कोरे श्रद्धा बिंदु दिया देहो कृष्ण नाम धाने तुम्हें कृपा कोरे श्रद्धा बिंदु दिया देहो कृष्ण नाम धाने कृष्ण से तुम्हारा कृष्ण देते पारो तुम्हारा शक्ति आचे कृष्ण से तुम्हारा कृष्ण दीते पारो तुम्हारा शक्ति आचे। आमी तो कंगाला कृष्ण कृष्ण बोली धाई तव पाचे पाचे। आमी तो कंगाला कृष्ण कृष्ण बोली धाई तव पाचे पाचे। वैष्णव ठाकुरा दया रसगर दासे करुण कोरी। दिया पद छाया शोधोए अमाया तुमर चरण धोरी। छय बेगदोमी छय दोष शोधी छय गुण देहो दासे। छाय सत्संग देहो अमारे बोसची संगिरासे। एकाकी हमारा नहीं पाय बाला हरि नाम संकीर्तने। तुम्हें कृपा कोरे श्रद्धा बिंदु दिया देहो कृष्ण नाम दाने। कृष्ण से तुम्हारा कृष्ण दीते पारो तुम्हारा शक्ति आचे। आमी तो कंगाला कृष्ण कृष्ण बोली दाई तव पाचे पाचे। ओ हे वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर। जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा। निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल गौरा हरि बोल। श्री वैष्णव ठाकुर की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीसते हो लोक जागर। राम दूत अतुलित बलधाम अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नाम। महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन वरण विराज सुबेसा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केशा हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराजे कांधे मूंज जनेयु साजे शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जलावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज संभारे लाए संजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति किन्ही बहुत बढ़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत सम भाई सहस बदन तुमरो यश गावे अस कहि श्रीपति कंठन गावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद सारद सहित रहीसा यम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीना राम मिलाए राजपद दीना तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना युग सहस्त्र योजन पर भानु लील्योताहि मधुर फल जानु प्रभु मुद्रिका मेली मुख माई जलधि लांग गए अचर जनाहि दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगमानुग्रह तुमरे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे हो तन आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे सब सुख है तुम्हारी शरण तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज सम्हारो आप तीनों लोक हाकते काप भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा जिनके काज सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे चारों जुग परताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नवनिधि के दाता असवर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा सदा रहो रघुपति के दास उमरो भजन राम को पावे जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई और देवता चित्तन धरहि हनुमत से ही सर्व सुख करहि संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमिर हनुमत बलबीरा, जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई। कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई, जो शत बार पठ कर कोई, झूठ ही बंदी महासुख होई। जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, की जय नाथ हृदय माडेरा। राम लक्ष्मण जानकी जय, बोलो हनुमान की। लक्ष्मण जानकी जय, बोलो हनुमान की।
ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं, श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे, निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वतीनिति नामिने। श्रीवार्षभानवी देवी दायिताय कृपाब्दये, कृष्णसम्बन्ध विज्ञानदायिने प्रभवे नमः। माधुर्योज्ज्वलप्रेमाद्य श्रीरूपानुगभक्तिदा श्रीगौरकरुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोऽस्तुते। नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दीनतारिणे, रूपानुग विरुद्धाप सिद्धांत द्वंद्वहारिणे। नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये, विप्रलम्बर सांबोधे पदाम्बुजायते नमः। नमो भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानंद नामिने, गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुग वरायते। गौरविर्भावभूमिस्त्वं निर्देष्ट सज्जन प्रिय, वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च, पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते, कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं, भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते, च गोपिकाकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। जयतां सुरतौ पङ्गौर्मम मन्दमतेर्गति, मत्सर्वस्व पदाम्बोजौ राधामदनमोहनौ। दिव्याद् वृन्दारण् श्रीमद्रत्नाङ्गदसिंहासनस्थौ श्रीलगोविन्ददेवौ प्रेष्ठालिभिः सेव्यमानौ स्मरामि। श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भी वंशीवटतटस्थित, कर्षण वेणुस्वनैर्गोपी गोपीनाथा श्रीस्तुनः। तप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी राधे बृन्दावनेश्वरी, वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So, welcome everyone. Today actually happens to be lunar eclipse, and it is traditionally, it has always been, eclipse is generally viewed as something inauspicious, and that's why we see that during the time of Lord Chaitanya's birth, when there was a lunar eclipse, all the people in Bengal, they were said to be in the Ganga, chanting the name of Krishna loudly, because that was the only thing you are supposed to do during an eclipse. So that's why we hear that story that everyone, all the Hindus, and it is said somehow even the Muslims were chanting. Everyone was in the Ganga and they were all chanting the holy names very loudly. And Mahaprabhu took that so-called inauspicious moment, to become most auspicious, because it is even figurative. Because in an eclipse, when there is darkness, then the holy name comes. So, in the age of Kali, which is totally inauspicious, like an eclipse only, period. So at that time, the Lord appears. So, Ram was just talking to me during Prasadam. So, generally, we all know that, the scientific explanation for the eclipse. What is the explanation they give? What comes in a lunar eclipse? Earth comes between the sun and the moon. Okay. And a solar eclipse? Moon comes between earth and sun. Okay, moon comes between earth and solar eclipse. And in the lunar eclipse? Earth is in the middle. And in the shadow falls on the moon. And in the solar one, moon is in the middle. So, how many of you have read this book of Sadaput Prabhu called Vedic Cosmography and Astronomy? So, that's considered one of the classic works. Sadaput Prabhu was really, if you just see the quality of scientist in him, that was actually just amazing. If you see his writings, it's just stunning. It just shakes you up completely. In fact, most of what he says, no one understands. And that's actually a characteristic of a great scientist, right? We see one of professors in college and all. Which professor is respected a lot? Someone whose lectures nobody understands, right? Like you go to IIT and all, you see big profs, right? You have studied there. What do you think? People who say things that not too many people understand are considered really, not that they're purposely doing it that way, but you need a lot of prerequisite to understand what they're saying. That's the point. It's not that they are purposely making it tough, but so anyway, so Sadaput Prabhu, he writes about this. So basically the thing is, as far as we understand, there are these two planets called Rahu and Ketu. And this Rahu and Ketu are also part of the solar system, right? So this Rahu and Ketu, please note, are invisible planets. So no one can see Rahu, Ketu. Rahu and Ketu are considered as invisible planets. They are not seen. The whole story goes back to that Mohini Murthi's time, when, Rahu drinks that nectar. I presume Ketu also drinks, I don't know. But though they are demons, because they drink and, Vishnu severs Rahu's head, but the head is, alive because it's already taken in the Amritam. And only the body falls off. So he stays as a demigod planet. So in the Navagraha, if you know the Navagraha, there is, Aditya, Soma, Angaraka, Buddha, Brihaspati, Shukra, Shaneshchara, Rahu and Ketu. The 7 main planets and Rahu, Ketu. These form the Navagraha. So Rahu, though a demon, achieves the status of a deity, a demigod. And he is a planet. And because of his rivalry with the sun and the moon, from that story of Mohini Murthy, they attack. So whenever they get an opportunity, they attack. And the sun or the moon is actually figuratively swallowed up, by this Rahu and Ketu. Okay, so now obviously when we hear the story of Bhagavatam, somebody may wonder, hey man, we are able to explain eclipses without Rahu Ketu over here. So how about this? So where is Rahu and Ketu? So Sadaput Prabhu explains that though Rahu Ketu cannot be seen, their position in the astronomic sky can always be noticed. Understood? There are calculations which tell you where Rahu and Ketu exactly are at any given point of time. That's why, this is traditionally there in India. So if you see in anybody's horoscope or anything, you have seen, the 9 boxes are there. And so basically Rahu Ketu's position is always predictable in the sky, because they are also moving like other planets only in predictable speeds. Are you understanding? Means they are not, they are also moving at a very similar, so their position can actually be found out. And Sadaput Prabhu explains, Rahu's location and Ketu's location correspond to technically what they call as the ascending and the descending node of the moon. Okay, so I think Kulwant Prabhu is nodding in agreement, so he seems to know about it. Can you illuminate a little bit further about what is ascending and descending, though I did not understand too much of it myself? Yeah, one second. There it is. So it's good to have a scientist among us.
Actually, the lunar ecliptic path, it intersects with the Earth's orbital path. So the nodes are formed, those two nodes. Yes, right, depending on the path of the moon.
So that's a scientific explanation. वापस बताइए, common लोग को नहीं समझा.
Modern astronomy says there are ecliptical paths, right? So there is one moon's path, then Earth's orbits. So when they intersect, there are two nodes. These nodes are moving. They are called Rahu and Ketu.
The node of intersection of the moon's path and the earth's path. Okay, understand. Okay, so traditionally, from the if you go back to what is that book, Surya Siddhanta and other books, which talk about solar system and position of planets, they identify Rahu and Ketu as the ascending and descending node of the moon. And it turns out that whenever this situation which they just spoke about, when the earth is between the moon and the sun, or the moon is between the earth and the sun, in either case, the ascending or the descending node is also in the middle only. You understood? Because the way he defined it, it is the intersection of the lunar and the earth's orbit, right? Yeah. So that ascending and descending node also, whenever these three things are in line, which three things? The earth, moon and the sun. That time that ascending, descending is also at the right place, either here or here, something like that. So the thing is, Sadaput Prabhu, he argues in great detail, because honestly, I have read this book almost maybe 5-6 years ago. I have not, because I lost the book basically, so I have not read it recently, but I remember reading it well. So he explains that this ascending and descending node, they are always in the middle only when the eclipse is happening. So then he argues, somebody may say, then that means this Rahu and Ketu's position is superfluous. Even if they were not there, apparently, eclipse is still explainable. But then he says, how do you know that they are not playing a role? See, the thing is, whenever there is an eclipse happening, the ascending and or the descending node are actually there in the middle. So, from our perspective, because we cannot see Rahu Ketu, we see only the explanation of the moon's, that shadow concept, which we all studied in school only. Lunar eclipse, solar eclipse concept we have studied in school. So you understand the point. If you remove Rahu Ketu, if you don't believe in it or you don't accept it, then we have a theory that one is causing a shadow on the other. But these two are invisible planets, so the Shastras say, and they are always there over there. So he says, how does anyone know? See, because the whole scientific domain works on Pratyaksha and Anumana Praman. That means you see something and you make some inference. That means you see, okay, these three things are in line and there is an eclipse and you connect 1 and 2. But how do you know, he says, that this third thing, this Rahu Ketu being in the middle, is not playing a role in this covering? You understood the point? So even if from a the scientific perspective and whatever, if a person doesn't accept the existence of Rahu Ketu, he may be feeling that this is only causing, but the fact of the matter is that the ascending and descending are exactly sitting in the middle only. So that is also there. You cannot ignore it. Yeah, in fact, he argues many things. He says in his book how little we know about the solar system. So Sadaput Prabhu says, that, today in science, he says that scientists have ways of knowing the weight of the solar system. You understood? That means they have an estimate of how much heavy the solar system should be, through some calculations, he explains. Gravitational pull and this and that. And science also knows, he says, the weight of the known bodies of the solar system. Like the known bodies are the sun, Mars, Mercury, all these things. And he says the known bodies of the solar system contribute only between 1 to 10% of the weight of the solar system. So in scientific jargon only, he says, of the solar system, 90 to 99% of the weight or the mass of the solar system is basically called as dark matter, dark mass, which is basically unaccounted in their calculations. You understood? So he explains, I mean, I am actually a layman, so I don't, but I remember these figures very well. So he says that, 90 to 99% of the solar system's weight is actually unaccounted for. So basically, I mean, and he quotes also Encyclopedia Britannica and so many places which basically says all these facts. Okay, so the fact is that through Pratyaksha and Anumana, we know very little actually. And through whatever little we know, we are explaining things. Just like I will tell you, forget Rahu Ketu, this thing. Even if you see this heliocentric, geocentric theory, heliocentric theory means, the sun is in the center and everything else moving. And geocentric means earth is stationary and everything moving around the sun. Do you know one thing that even according to scientists, Sadaput Prabhu writes this, actually they are equivalent models. Because it's all relative motion. No one really, he said that even according to Einstein and all he quotes in that book, he says that nobody can really say that this is only correct and that is wrong, because what we know is relative motion. So even if we are able to explain day, night and all based on our own theories, that does not mean that the theory you have, because it is only that theory is true and that is why day, night, seasons are being explained. It is also likely that so many other things are true because of which actually it is like that, but we just don't know about it. You understood? So he quotes scientists only in many of these things, heliocentric, geocentric argument and all that. So what I am simply saying is something very simple to understand is that, I mean, things over there in the cosmos is not as simple as, one may imagine. So even if an explanation is there, you cannot be sure that the reason for that explanation is the only reason for that explanation. There could be other reasons also, which we don't even have access to. And that's exactly where Rahu Ketu come in an eclipse. Okay, so as per the Shastra, they are always there, because that's how Shastra calculates the ascending and descending node, as he explained, the intersection of the elliptical orbits of the moon and the earth. So there actually Rahu Ketu are positioned, and whenever an eclipse is there, they are right in the middle, like that. Right? Explains that. Yeah. Okay, so anybody has any other comment or hopefully no question on it? Yeah. I think it's considered inauspicious because the demon gets power, na? See, the whole idea is that there are divine powers and there are demonic powers. When the demonic powers get Shakti and they overpower the divine powers, it is bad. Right? It's like a terrorist who has, conquered the country and driven away the government. It's inauspicious. Like ISIS, they have driven away the government in Iraq and Syria and they have taken over. So it's not good. Right? So that is why it is considered inauspicious, because the demonic powers get more Shakti than the divine power. I mean, that's a very simple explanation. See, the thing is, there are physical laws. See, the thing is, our science which is there, it removes consciousness from everything. You understood? From a purely scientific basis, if you see, I mean, even our body doesn't have any consciousness, right? Like most scientists, if you see their writings, they don't even accept consciousness in the self. So it's a very mechanistic explanation to things from modern science perspective. So when they are explaining eclipse and all these things, it's a purely mechanistic explanation. And in the mechanistic explanation, there is no consciousness involved. But the Shastra, like the Bhagavatam, if you see, it is the other extreme. There is only consciousness involved over there. There's hardly any mechanical explanation. Because the Bhagavatam is a book which is, for example, talking a lot in terms of, so for example, in the Bhagavatam talks about Rahu eating up the moon or eating up the sun or whatever, The whole thing is in terms of consciousness, that the demonic power has overpowered the divine power. But there are other Shastras like Surya Siddhanta and all, which talk both from the mechanistic perspective and the consciousness perspective. So ultimately when we integrate, we understand something, right? Yeah. Yeah. She was mentally ill throughout her life. Yeah, eclipses are inauspicious. He's saying that someone they know was born in eclipse time was mentally ill throughout life, like that. So he's saying that in general, through observation, we see cases of this.
Every eclipse affects a particular nakshatra and a particular rashi. So that particular person who is under that has to be careful on that eclipse. So can you explain?
Yeah, see, that is because the moon which is there, no, it has this, the constellation or something of the moon is divided into 27 nakshatras, right? 27 or 28, I don't know what, forgot. 27 nakshatras are there. So when that moon is being covered, there are certain nakshatras in that domain of that moon. I mean, I don't know the technical language actually, but that is how it is explained. So there are 3 or 4 nakshatras. Like for example, my nakshatra and that Ladini's nakshatra are affected today. Father Appa phoned and said, oh really? My father phoned and told that, you know, घर में ये सबका affected है, संभाल के रो करके. So yeah, there are many, several. Of course, one thing Shastra says that when Rahu comes in the middle, the eclipse has a blackish tinge, and when Ketu comes, it is brownish. So Sadaput Prabhu explains that also in detail. But I don't remember much of that. It is there in that book, Vedic Cosmography and Astronomy. So you can read that if you want to know more about eclipses. There are at least 2 chapters on it. No, one second. What is one above the other? They are not one above the other. Oh, no, I have no clue. In fact, this is explained by Sadaput Prabhu in detail, but after reading 2-3 times also, I did not manage to get much of it. So, you'll have to read that book. He explains many things in it. That book is very good actually. Vedic Cosmography and Astronomy. If you really want to know something about astronomy. 7 chapters, but just class. But I don't think it is exactly that way. It is what you are saying, it is a very simple explanation of directly from the Bhagavatam, but he explains in more detail. It is not like that. It is this above higher thing which is there, it is to be seen differently. Like, I don't know, I mean, if there is a board I can draw and show, like he says that, suppose you imagine 3 lines. He says, the Bhagavatam is talking about distance from one plane to the next, not between point to point. So he explains through Bhagavatam and Surya Siddhanta that suppose X is the plane of the earth, Y is the plane of the sun, and Z is the plane of the moon. He explains that the earth is here, let us say, and in the plane above the sun is here, and in the plane even above that the moon is here. Yeah, but he says that the point to point distance from the earth to the moon only is obviously closer than that to the sun. So this Bhagavatam, in which the dimensionality that it is talking, it is not, I mean, we cannot take it too literally and come up with some conclusions in terms of, that's what I'm saying. Because the Bhagavatam is not talking from the earth's perspective, it is talking Bhumandala perspective. And second important thing he clarifies is, there is a difference between the Bhagavatam's explanation of the solar system and the Surya Siddhanta's explanation. He says that the Bhagavatam's explanation of the universe is from the demigod's perspective. That means if somebody is sitting like a demigod and looking from their perspective, which we don't even know what their perspective is, from that perspective, how you see things is explained in the Bhagavatam. But he says the Surya Siddhanta explains from the earth perspective. If you are sitting in the earth and you are looking up in the sky, so he says that there are some things which you have to come this thing. So I don't know if you may be knowing this, Dhanavir Maharaj and all, you know, they have done a lot of research, they have published volumes of books on all these things. So they are doing all this because in Mayapur temple they want ultimately, that planetarium they want to describe in a way that, has consensus with both the works. So it's like that. So what I'm just saying is that the Bhagavatam's perspective, which is there, we cannot take that directly and come to something. I mean, there is some other perspective also which you have to look, if you want to really come to some understanding of how orbits work and all that. Yeah, moon only is closer. Yeah. That is because that's what I told you, na. That plane is from Bhumandala, not from the Earth planet. That's the whole problem. Correct in what sense it is correct? Yeah, but then if you just go out and tell people on the street that the moon is further away than the sun, like Prabhupada would use a very simple argument, na? Maharaj also would quote it once. Why is Sunday first and then Monday next? Why is Monday after Sunday? Prabhupada was asking very seriously, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. No scientist has been able to tell me. Why is Sunday first and then Monday? In every religion and every culture it is like that. So Prabhupada said very simple. The sun is closer than the moon. So that was certainly an argument, very powerful, but very simple argument, but still apparently Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj also could not answer. Why is Sunday before Monday? Because it's actually that way. Right? But then that is from the plane perspective. So Sadaput Prabhu explains vertical, that means from the planary distances. Planary distances, not point-to-point distances. Point-to-point distance ke liye you will have to take yourself as the Earth planet, not as Bhumandala. Because Bhumandala, where is Bhumandala's midpoint, we don't know. That is somewhere. That Meru Parvat ka base, udhar hai wo. So we are far away from there. So we really, you cannot take hours like that. Anyway, so that's it. So I think most devotees are tired after this explanation. So I think we'll come back to our topic. So today happens to be several occasions and we plan to touch all of them. So the first thing is that, what we are not going to talk much is about, the Vaishnava calendar says that today is Balram, Ras Yatra and Krishna, what is that? Vasantaras. So basically it explains that today is the day in the summer season when Balramji enjoys Ras Leela with his set of gopis. So as we know in Vrindavan, Krishna has his set of gopis and Balram has his set of gopis. And during the summer season, Balram, Ras Yatra, because it's a full moon night today, so Shri Balramji, we know, right, in the Bhagavatam it comes that Balram once he goes back to Vrindavan to pacify the Vrajavasis. So that is the time when he kills Duvida gorilla. So that time he has this, I think on this Ras Leela occasion only he kills the Duvida gorilla. That time only Duvida comes and attacks. Krishna is? Duvida. So Kishore is reminding that today's Duvida Maharaj's disappearance day. So Duvida was a very, anyway, since we got another occasion to speak about it, because it is Duvida's disappearance as well, we can presume safely. The Bhagavatam talks about it that way. That Duvida was a very interesting character because he had done great service, during Ram Leela, but he doubted Lakshmanji. He was, so because of which his asuric propensities only increased. And by the time Krishna Leela arrived, he became a demon. And he was against. Somehow he did not believe in Lakshman. That is what it says. That Duvida was there in the same body only that time. In Ram Leela, as a gorilla. But somehow he didn't have enough faith in Lakshmanji. He accepted Ram, so his demoniac, that means, that concept is there, right? The Supreme Lord and the Guru, both of them should be accepted. If you reject one, you're finished. So because he rejects one of them, he is finished. So we have opposite examples like Duryodhan, who accepts the Guru but not Krishna. So he is also destroyed. And here is a character who accepts. So he becomes friends with Banasur, he becomes a demon. And during this Balram's Rasa dance, he comes and intervenes. And what he does? He takes away some gopis or something. Oh, he shows various funny gestures, correct. So Balramji delivers him. So that is one occasion today. Then the second one is, No, that is not this time. Oh, that is different. That is when Varuni he drank and he got. So the second occasion other than this is Sri Krishna Vasant, what is that? What did he say? Vasant Ras. That means Krishna also is said to enjoy Ras Leela at this particular time of the year. Besides the Sharad Purnima time, he has Ras Leela on this particular Purnima night as well. So it is a time of wonderful pastimes of Lord Krishna and Balram. Besides that, it is the appearance of two acharyas. So, one of the acharyas is Vamshi Vadan Thakur. There is not much known about him, very briefly. So, I'll just speak very briefly. So, this Vamshi Vadan Thakur, according to this Gaurav Ganedesh Deepika, he is said to be an incarnation of Krishna's flute. So he was also called as Vamshi. So that's why his name was Vamshi Vadana. So he was incarnation of Krishna's flute. He was a great poet, and he was born, and he was basically, his home was in Koladweep. Koladweep is across the Ganga. If you remember, whenever we go to Mayapur, we cross the Ganga to go to Koladweep. So that is the place of Vamshi Vadan Thakur. And it is said that he was there during the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaita Acharya. And when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, he was one of the servants of Vishnu Priya Devi and Sachimata. And it is said that the Gauranga deity, which was worshipped by Vishnu Priya, was got by Vamshi Vadan Thakur to Koladweep. So many of you will remember, during our yatras we travel across the Ganga and we go to this place of Sonar Gauranga temple. I think all of you have visited that place. You may remember Sonar Gauranga. We travel across the Ganga and we walk through the crowded street and we reach that place, Sonar Gauranga, where there is a Gauranga form which is worshipped by Vishnu Priya. So that deity was, after Vishnu Priya Devi's passing away, whatever, or during that time only, I don't know, Vamshi Vadan Thakur brings that deity over here, establishes the worship. And then he has two sons, Chaitanya and Nityananda Das, and both of them take that worship ahead. And there are many bhajans and poems that he has written, because he is considered to be incarnation of Krishna's flute. He was said to be a kavi, who has written poetry. So that is very briefly about Vamshi Vadan Thakur. Today also happens to be the appearance of Shyamananda Pandit, who was the, So I request, she has prepared, I think, hopefully something. Just now,
Prabhuji just mentioned that certain nakshatras are under the influence of eclipse, and he happens to be one. So he wants me to speak because we don't know under the influence of eclipse what he'll speak. Also, in our Vedic customs, it is said that on eclipse, people give a lot of charity to people, and that's considered very auspicious. So Sachiputra Prabhu and Rasonmad Mataji have fed so many Vaishnavas a really extraordinary feast from Govindas, and I'm sure everyone has blessed them from their heart. So they have already performed a wonderful charity even before the eclipses had started. So there's a very beautiful statement which says that anyone who accepts and who understands that the associates of Lord Chaitanya are eternally liberated souls, they will surely attain a place by the side of the son of the king of Raj in the spiritual world, that is Krishna. So we should understand, anybody who understands that the associates of Lord Chaitanya are liberated souls, they will surely attain a place by the side of the son of the king of Raj. That means, son of the king of Raj is Krishna. So it's a very important statement, because the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita is filled with the descriptions of Lord Chaitanya and his devotees. And afterwards, there are so many scriptures like Bhakti Ratnakar and all that speak about the devotees who appeared after Lord Chaitanya left this world. So there were three very prominent devotees of Lord Chaitanya who appeared in this world after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya. They were Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya and Shyamananda Prabhu. So, we have spoken at great length about Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivas Acharya, but I think first time we are discussing about Shyamananda Prabhu. So, Shyamananda Prabhu was born in a place called Utkal, and this is in Orissa, and the village was called as Dharendra Bahadurpur. And in this place in Orissa, small village, he was born to Krishna Mandal. Sri Krishna Mandal was his father, and his mother's name was Srimati Durika. And both of them, it is said that they were very devoted to the Lord, and they had many children. But unfortunately, one by one, all their children died. Just like, we see in case of Bhakti Vinod Thakur and others, even Sachi Mata. So they lost several children. Finally, this little boy, Shyamananda, was born to them. And because they were so sad, losing so many children one after the other, after this little boy was born, they named him Dukhiya. Because they felt, so unfortunate. He has lost all his other siblings. What an unfortunate birth. And they themselves were very sad. So they named him Dukhiya. Also, there's a custom. If you give some name like that, it's like, nazar nahi lagti. They tie some black ulta demon or a limbu or a white pumpkin outside the house, and so that nobody will look at it. So they named him Dukhiya. But this boy, his astronomical chart was very powerful, and he was very, very brilliant. Slowly his parents did all his samskaras, Annaprashan, Jatakarma, then the first, Hate Khadi, that is when he begins writing. So all these samskaras were done one after the other. And this boy, he showed tremendous intelligence. He learned all kind of, Sanskrit grammar, rhetoric, math, everything he learned very quickly, and his intelligence was unparalleled. He was super intelligent. So all the neighborhood people and all, they were telling his parents that actually your son is going to be very famous, and his birth is very auspicious. He'll do something good. So he grew up in this way, and his father, Sri Krishna Mandal, was also a very, a very serious devotee of the Lord, of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, who were not present physically that time. So this, his father wanted that his son should get initiated into Mahamantra. So this boy, he said, when his father expressed that you should take Harinam, you should take Diksha from a guru. So this little boy, Dukhiya, he said that I already have accepted my guru in my heart. He is Hriday Chaitanya, and he lives in Ambika Kalna. He is a disciple of Gauridas Pandit, and I will take initiation from him. Now they were living in a village called Dharendra Bahadurpur, and this was in Orissa. And Ambika Kalna, most of us have visited, which is very far. And those days, the only way to go to place from one place to other was walking. So his father said, that's too far, how will you reach to that place? How will you go there? So he said that, so many people from our village, they go there to take bath in the Ganga. So next time when I see somebody going, I'll join them, I'll go with them. So then his father said, okay, fine. So they waited, and when they saw that some villagers were going there to take bath in the Ganga, he sent his son, Dukhiya, to Ambika Kalna. So there was a small, group of people who were walking, and he was a small boy that time. He was not a grown-up man, and he went along with them, and they first went to Navadvip as they were walking, and in Navadvip they went to Jagannath Bhavan, that is the house of Jagannath Mishra, and the house was still maintained. Ishan Thakur was there, and Dukhiya, he offered his prostrated obeisances to Ishan Thakur, who was serving in the house of Sachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra. So then he introduced himself that he is Dukhiya, he has come from so and so village and is going towards Ambika Kalna. So Ishan Thakur blessed him, and then he went ahead. And after visiting Navadvip, he went to Ambika Kalna with those devotees. And in Ambika Kalna, it is not like how we came to his house today, asking landmarks, this, that. So there was a famous story about the house of Hriday Chaitanya. So that was a prominent landmark, that Gaur Nitai deities were in his house. If you know that story, that actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had personally visited his house, and in Gauridas Pandit's house. Same place, the same deities were later maintained by him. And then when they were leaving, Gauridas Pandit he didn't want them to go, so they left his deities behind. Then he said, no, let you be here, let the deities go. Then no. So this was going on, happening. Sometimes the deities would walk, sometimes the Lord would walk. So then that way those famous deities were still present. Yes. So he found the house and he came there. And when he saw the house, he offered his obeisances to the house itself from outside, even before seeing Hriday Chaitanya. And Hriday Chaitanya was not at home that time, he came from outside. And when he saw somebody is offering obeisances, he asked, "Who are you?" So then this boy introduced himself, saying that I am Dukhiya and I have come from this place called Bahadurpur, and I am the son of Sri Krishna Mandal, and I have come here to be your servant. So he spoke so sweetly and so politely, such words of maturity, that Hriday Chaitanya was very moved. He felt so much affectionate to this little boy that he immediately brought him inside and took care of him. And on an auspicious day, he gave him initiation. And thereon he was known as Krishna Das. And this Krishna Das was, being taken care of by his guru Hriday Chaitanya, and he was training him very nicely, and he was initiated into chanting the Maha Mantra. And after some time, when his guru Hriday Chaitanya saw that actually this boy is very, very intelligent, he is very brilliant, extraordinarily intelligent, he thought that I should send him for further training to the Goswamis. So he told him that I want you to go to Vrindavan and learn under the guidance of Jiva Goswami there. So you should go there. So then Krishna Das, he immediately took those instructions to his heart and he said, I'll do as you say. So he gave a message to him. He said, you should go and tell Jiva Goswami that Hriday Chaitanya has sent me and I should learn from you for a particular period of time, and then I should return back to him. So he left. And as he was coming to Vrindavan, he first went to Gaya. He went to Gaya, and there he remembered the pastime of Lord Chaitanya meeting Ishwara Puri. And he was absorbed in those pastimes, meditating how that happened, how was that meeting, how the Lord was transformed after that. So he was going into ecstasy after just thinking about that in Gaya. Then from there he went to Kashi. In Kashi he met Chandrasekhar, he met Tapan Mishra, all these devotees, and Lord Chaitanya had visited their homes. He had instructed them in Kashi, so he heard all that. And in this way, after meeting all these people, he went to Mathura. And in Mathura, he bathed at the Vishram Ghat, and then he went and took darshan in the Adikeshav temple in Mathura. And from there he came to Vrindavan. And he came to the place where Jiva Goswami was there. And after prostrating before him, he conveyed the message of Hriday Chaitanya by saying that I am his servant, and he has given this message to you that I must study under your care and serve you, and after some time I should return back to him. And he has also conveyed all his regards and his obeisances to you and all the other Goswamis. So he conveyed that message, and Jiva Goswami was also very happy to accept this boy who was so effulgent, so intelligent, and very spiritually advanced. So Jiva Goswami happily accepted him. And then he started guiding him, training him in all the literatures of the Goswamis. In the meantime, Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivas Acharya. They also had joined over here from different paths, and they had also come here to study under Jiva Goswami. So now all three students were studying under Jiva Goswami, and they all three of them were really such exalted devotees. They were always absorbed in their love for Gaur Nitai. So Shyamananda Prabhu had a special desire. He wanted a very special service, a very different and intimate service for the Lord. So he asked Jiva Goswami, could you give me anything like that? So Jiva Goswami told him that, okay, you should go and sweep the Seva Kunj area every day. Every day do this service. So he was very happy, very, very happy that, wow, I got such a service, brooming the Seva Kunj area every day. The Lord's intimate place where he performs this Rasa Leela, where he is personally present every day and night. I have to sweep that place. He was ecstatic. He was very happy. So he went to Seva Kunj with his broom, and every day he would sweep over there. And sweeping, he would be his consciousness was that, my God, what a rare service. Even demigods are waiting to do this service, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, but they are not getting. And my Guru has given me this opportunity. What great fortune. Sometimes he would sweep and he would dust the broom on his head. He would think, you know what, this dust of Seva Kunj, big devotees don't get it, and I'm sweeping it. So he would dust the broom on his head every day. So that was his consciousness, that I have got such an intimate service by the mercy of my Guru. So seeing his service, it is said that the Lord Radha and Krishna, they were very happy that, this devotee is so nicely serving them, their intimate place. So they wanted to bestow their blessings on him, mercy. So one day, while sweeping in the Seva Kunj area, he found a very pretty anklet, payal. Very pretty anklet, but only one was there out of the pair. So he picked that up. He thought maybe someone has lost it. But if someone comes to me asking, I'll return it. So he tucked it in the corner of his dhoti and he kept sweeping. And after some time, he saw that, there was one girl and she was searching here and there. So he asked her, what are you searching? And not only that, she was not looking like an earth. Actually, we can off this, it's making too much sound. Yeah, you can keep it there. It's right under my head, like an effulgence. Moving aura. So when he saw this lady, he was like, who is she? She doesn't look like an earthly being. She looks so effulgent. She looks like a heavenly, she looks like a demigoddess. Who is she? So he actually prostrated in front of her. And she was actually Vishakha Devi. So he asked that, what are you searching for? She said that, I'm searching for a pair of, a single anklet which has got lost from its pair. So then he said, oh really, I have it. Then she asked, who are you? He said, I am, do you belong to this village? He said, no, I am not from here, but I sweep over here. Then he asked her, who are you? And whose anklet are these? Is this? So she said, no, there was a newly wed bride who came to our house yesterday and she has lost her ankle bell. So you please return it to me and I'll give it to her. But Shyamananda, Krishna Das, he said that, no, I'll not give it to you. You bring that bride to me and then if she personally comes only, I'll give it to her. So then Vishakha Devi said, okay, let that be so. And she went away from there. And he continued doing his seva of sweeping. The next day, Vishakha Devi appeared over there with Radharani. And they were standing under a tree. And when this Krishnadas saw them both, he was literally falling unconscious. Because looking at them, he could understand that they are, something very special. They are not ordinary human beings. And something very special is going to happen in my life. they were so effulgent. He knew that they are actually demigoddesses. So he again offered his obeisances. And when he went near, the whole scene changed. And, Vishakha Devi said that, you said you'll give it to my mistress, now she has come. But as she said that, the whole thing changed and he could see Radha Kund in front of him. And under the guidance of Vishakha Devi, he took his bath in Radha Kund. And when he came out, he had the body of a gopi. And then Vishakha Devi, she caught his hand and took him to Radharani. Said, see, she is my mistress and this belongs to her. And then he gave the payal to her in his newly acquired gopi form. And then Radharani took the anklet and with the, that ghungru, she made a particular marking on his forehead. And she said, I am very pleased with your service. And this will be your tilak henceforth. And your name will be Shyamananda, one who gives pleasure to Shyama, that is Radharani. And then immediately both of them disappeared and the whole scene again changed and he was back into his original, his Krishna, that same male body. But he was so ecstatic that 100 times he offered his obeisances in that place. And he kept saying, what have I seen? What have I seen? What have I seen? He would say that, he would cry and offer obeisances. Again get up, say, what have I seen? Offer obeisances, cry. So he did this hundreds of times. And then he went back to his guru. And he not his guru, he went back to Jiva Goswami. And he told him what had happened. And Jiva Goswami said, keep it a secret in your heart. Do not reveal this to anybody. So he kept quiet about it. So only two people knew, Krishna, Shyamananda and Jiva Goswami. But, but natural, all the other Vaishnavas in Vrindavan started discussing, why is this Krishna Das having some strange ways nowadays? Why is he calling himself some new name suddenly? And what is this new tilak? So there was a discussion going on among the other Vaishnavas. But he was told not to reveal. So then this happened and the news reached till Ambika Kalna to his guru, Hriday Chaitanya, that your disciple in Vrindavan is doing really weird things. He is wearing some different tilak, though he is with Jiva Goswami, he is not like the others, and he calls himself Shyamananda now, he is no more Krishna Das and he is doing all weird things. So Hriday Chaitanya, when he heard this, he was boiling with anger. He said, what nonsense, how can he do like that? I must teach him a lesson. He was very angry. So immediately he set out to Vrindavan. He thought, I send him to be under the care of Jiva Goswami and to study scriptures, and what nonsense is he doing? In a very angry mood, he left Ambika Kalna. It took him few months to reach Vrindavan. And when he came, Shyamananda Prabhu, he offered his obeisances. He was very happy to see his guru, but his guru was not very happy to see him. So as soon as he saw him, he started chastising him left and right, you nonsense, I sent you here for some other purpose, and what you are doing, you have done all abominable things, and you have brought shame to me. So after chastising him, that was not enough. He started beating him up. Then other Vaishnavas had to come and, pull him back and pacify him. Ki, chhod do bechara, chota hai. So, he was angry to that extent. Then, in great anger, he just somehow went to sleep that night. He was not happy. And then, in his sleep, when he slept, in his dream, Radharani appeared. She was in a very angry mood. She said, what do you think you are? I am pleased by his devotion. He is so dear to me. He did intimate service to me. So, I gave him that tilak and that name. Who are you to do this? You are an offender. And then the dream was over. And when he got up, he was like, my God, what have I done? And then he ran back to the place of Jiva Goswami. And then he took Shyamananda, placed him on his lap. And he embraced him again and again. And he asked for forgiveness. And then he was very pleased with him that, okay, now I know all that you're doing. No problem. And then after satisfying him and everything, he went back to Ambika Kalna. And then over here, under the care of Jiva Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya and Shyamanand Prabhu. Three of them were having such a time. They would discuss scriptures together under Jiva Goswami's guidance. They would go door to door to the Brajvasis' homes, ask for Madhukari, and then divide it. So they were having a real blissful time of their life together. And all the other Goswamis, they were also seeing their devotion. What is their caliber? Such intellectual, such intelligent students, and so young. And so all the Goswamis, whoever were alive that time, they had a council. And they decided that since Lord Chaitanya's disappearance, there's no preaching in Bengal. There are no devotees also left who are doing any preaching over there. So we should send these 3 devotees, these 3 Prabhus with our books to Bengal. So they should go there and revive the preaching over there. So they decided like that, and then they told these three of them, and then one auspicious day, Jiva Goswami, he packed all the books of the Acharyas, the Goswamis, all the literatures, and they were all handwritten on palm leaves. The only copy that was left in Vrindavan, and which was they were only palm leaves, there was no second copy. It was all packed in a beautiful case, and with the help, there were guards and so many other things, and they were sent. And these 3 Prabhus had to also leave Vrindavan. They were feeling very bad to leave Vrindavan and to leave the association of Jiva Goswami, but they were sent on a higher mission. But still they were happy because the 3 of them were together. So then we know how the books got lost in Van Vishnupur by King Virambir. So at this point, the 3 of them had to split. Srinivasacharya decided that he will stay in Van Vishnupur and till he recovers the books. He sent Narottam Das Thakur to Kheturi, and Shyamananda Prabhu went back to his village. So first he went to Ambika Kalna, and there he mentioned about the books to his guru Hriday Chaitanya, and he was so sad. Oh, the only copy of the Goswamis, they are lost. So they were very sad. But it took him months to reach Ambika Kalna, but very shortly they got the news that the books are recovered. So when the books were recovered and they got the news, they were very happy that okay, very good. Then Hriday Chaitanya thought that there are no devotees of Lord Chaitanya who are alive in Orissa. There is no preaching absolutely over there. So he told Shyamananda Pandit that you should go to Orissa, to these villages, and preach over there. Revive the devotees of Lord Gauranga. So he was staying quite some time with his guru Hriday Chaitanya. Now he had to separate from him also. So again there was separation. But then he had to leave. So he went back. He also went to his own village from where he belonged to, that Bahadurpur. And people were very happy to see him back and have his association. So there was one particular place near a holy river, and over there was a very famous and rich landlord. His name was Achyut Dev, and this Achyut Dev had a son. His name was Rasik, and this Rasik, by birth, he was having spontaneous devotion for Lord Gauranga, and he was always hankering, who will be my guru, who will be my guru, because there was no preaching over there. There were no Vaishnavas to guide him. So he was always hankering. So that time there was a divine voice which told Rasika, don't worry, Shyamananda will soon arrive over here and you can take shelter of his. And after few months, Shyamananda Pandit came to that village, and the son of Achyuta Dev, Rasika, he came and took shelter of Shyamananda Pandit, and he became the famous Rasikanand. And this Rasika, he was married, and after he took initiation from Shyamananda Pandit, and then he took Shyamananda Pandit to his home, and his entire family was transformed, and they all took up to Krishna consciousness. His wife, children, parents, and all other relatives. And not only that, they opened a very big, like in our today's term, satsang program in their home for all the villagers to come and attend. So Shyamananda Pandit stayed for some time in that village, and he would preach over there, and many people from that village would come and hear in the house of Rasikanand. In this way, many people were, they were brought back into Krishna consciousness in that village. And then in the same village there was a very famous yogi. His name was Damodar. Now this, he was not a bhakti yogi, he was a, other yogi. So when he came for the satsang, he could see a beautiful aura around Shyamananda Pandit. And he understood that he is not an ordinary person. So he also came and he was so attracted to hear about the pastimes of Lord Gauranga, Nityananda. He also surrendered to Shyamanand Pandit and took Harinam Diksha from him. Then Shyamanand Prabhu and Rasikanand Prabhu and this Damodar, they all made a small party, like a preaching party, and they would go from village to village. They went to places like Balarampur, Narsimhapur and all these places, and they would, go and preach about Gauranga, Nityananda, and bring more and more people into the fold of devotional service. There was one particular village called Narsimhapur, and it was famous for having many atheists over there. And when these people entered this village in Narsimhapur, all these atheists were actually converted, and they all became very good Vaishnavas by coming into their association. So in this way they revived their preaching in Orissa and in all these villages, interior villages, which were so far away from Bengal, and there were no Vaishnavas over there, and there was nobody from the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that at such a time they preached and brought people into devotional service. And they converted atheists, rogues, all kind of people into devotees. And in the meantime, they also attended the Kheturi festival. Now, going back to what's happening in Kheturi, the first Gaur Purnima festival held, hosted by Narottam Das Thakur. So that place again, the three of them met, Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Acharya and Shyamananda Pandit. And they were again so ecstatic, so blissful in that Kheturi festival in the Gaur Purnima. And they were discussing about their preaching and some such wonderful kirtan and everything. And again after that he came back to his preaching in Orissa. And so Shyamanand Prabhu, he had many intimate such devotees, like Govind Prabhu, Chintamani, Purushottam. These were his intimate associates. And his worshipable deities were Radha Shyam Sundar, which are still there in Vrindavan, very famous temple, and the deity worship standards are also very high. And they are his worshipable deities. And his Pushpa Samadhi is also just opposite that temple, somewhere near Seva Kunj area. So that was all about Shyamananda Pandit and his wonderful preaching and devotional service. And let us pray that we get a drop of his devotional service and his mood and his preaching mood in our life also. Hare Krishna. We don't know the exact age like that, but we know that he was a young boy. He was not because all this happened in his boyhood.
Just to add a couple of things, so he comes in a very illustrious line. So if you know that line, Nityananda Prabhu is said to have 12 associates who are said to be most closest to Lord Nityananda, and one of them is Gauridas Pandit. So he is considered one of the 12 Gopas, associates of Lord Balram, who when he comes as Nityananda they come. So among them one is Gauridas Pandit, and Hriday Chaitanya is his disciple, and Shyamananda is his disciple, and then Rasikanand is his disciple. Just a couple of things I'll add, which just to put an emphasis on, that these three people, when they studied under Jiva Goswami is said to have been very pleased with their studies, and he awarded them titles. So Shyamananda was awarded the title Pandit, Narottam was awarded Narottam Das Thakur Mahashoy, and Srinivas was offered the title Acharya. So these were titles actually awarded by Jiva Goswami to his three students. Another thing which I've just heard in general, Maharaj says is that, when you talk about friendship, there has to be something in common. So these three were friends, and the commonality was that they studied together under Jiva Goswami. That is one interesting thing. And another interesting thing is that disagreements are as such natural, and that arises even in society of advanced Vaishnavas. But it is just that it gets solved as well, by the arrangement of the Lord. So when Hriday Chaitanya, he was called Hriday Chaitanya because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was supposed to be in his heart always. So it is said that actually, just elaborating a little bit more on that story, when Hriday Chaitanya comes to know that my disciple has taken new name and new tilak, first the rumor that comes is Jiva Goswami has done this. He has reinitiated your disciple. So he becomes very angry. So he sends a group of Vaishnavas from Bengal to sort out the problem, saying that why have you done like this? Have I fallen down? If I have fallen down, please rectify me. So then Jiva Goswami says, no, it is not like that. And he tells the disciples that, because Jiva Goswami doesn't want to say that Radharani has done this. So he says that actually it is only by the inspiration of his guru only that he has done all this. Shyamananda, Dukhi Krishna Das. He has changed his name and taken a different tilak and all. So then Hriday Chaitanya says, no, I have not inspired him to do that. And then he comes personally. So his coming is secondary. First he sends for a lot of disciples. And then he comes and, then, many things happen. It is said that first he comes and he rubs that tilak of his disciples' forehead. But when he rubs, that tilak again comes by the arrangement of Radharani. And then later in that night, that dream comes and all that. That's an addition to that story. What it just indicates is that, even among, very advanced Vaishnavas, sometimes there may be some misunderstanding. But then that gets sorted out. Jiva Goswami was also very keen. And he writes a letter back through his disciples that, do not believe in all these rumors. It is nothing like that. I have not reinitiated him or anything. So like that, things get sorted. And then, of course, Shyamananda Prabhu and V.Shrikanth Prabhu, his disciple, they are said to have done a lot of preaching in Orissa, in those times. One thing is that the characteristic of this world is that very quickly things deteriorate and everything is forgotten. So somebody may feel that, because if you see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there just couple of decades before Shyamananda Pandit was born. But still everything was zero in Orissa. So quickly. That is the nature of the world, that things deteriorate very quickly. You cannot imagine how quickly things deteriorate. And we see that often, like Bhakti Saraswati passed away, in some few years only everything deteriorated. So it is actually like that. Things deteriorate very quickly. So... No, means in that context at that time, the level at which it was, suddenly there was no Vaishnava. Na? In a couple of decades there was no one. That's what we are hearing, right? When Shyamananda was born, there was no Vaishnava in Orissa. He had to go to Bengal to get initiation from Hriday Chaitanya. Whatever, we don't know exact details, but at least the literature says that there was hardly anybody. Yeah? Any comment or anybody wants to add something? You have heard somewhere anything about Shyamananda Pandit?
Vishaka Saki asks him, I just couldn't get that point, whether she comes to know that he has the ring. The
story is that Radharani is asking Vishaka that, I was in Seva Kunj in the Aprakata Leela dancing and I lost my bracelet. Go and get it back. See, the thing is, things were happening at Aprakata Leela and certain things became Prakata. You understand from the Leela perspective that was to give mercy to the Shyamananda. So Vishaka Devi goes to get it. Things that aprakata became prakata. That's the whole concept. Right? Hopefully, Shyamananda Prabhu ki samadhi? Hai kya? V.Shrikanth Prabhu, I think it is in this place. I'll tell you where it is. It is in that Chirchor Gopinath. I've gone there recently. Remuna. Yaad hai? Kirchor, wahin par hai. Mahabharata. Because there they had their influence, na? They were preaching there, Orissa. Yeah. Okay, so another interesting thing that is actually there today is Hanuman Jayanti. So we'll briefly speak on Sri Hanumanji, and then we'll conclude today's session. So there are so many things that could be said. So I have basically a collection of several articles that I myself made based on hearing various lectures of Govind Prabhu, Gaurang Prabhu, Radheshyam Prabhu, etc. So it's kind of, I'm just going to speak something in that context of Hanumanji. So one thing it is said that, when Radhanath Maharaj, when he first visited Hampi in 1990, that was the time it is said that he was very much inspired that we should have Hanuman in Radha Gopinath temple. So it is said after going to the birthplace of Hanumanji, in that, we went this time Yatra, that hilltop. So when Maharaj had taken the first Yatra in 1990, Maharaj felt that we should have Hanumanji in Radha Gopinath temple. That is apparently the history of how Hanumanji came in Chowpatty. So there are many things which you can say about Hanuman. So first I'll talk briefly about some of his qualities, and then we will go a little bit into the pastimes. So it is said one very interesting thing about Hanuman is that in his service to Lord Ram, Hanuman has no position. Hanuman has no position. Just like even Krishna had no position, Hanuman also had no position. If you see, Sugriva was something. Sugriva was the king. Angad was something. In fact, even if you see, when Sugriva divides the monkeys into 4 sections and sends them north, west, east and south, Angad is the leader of the monkeys who go south. Hanuman is not the leader. He is just one member of the party. So Hanuman has no position anywhere actually. Officially he is nothing. So this point is that you don't need so much a title in order to do devotional service. Because generally in this world, all of us are behind title. We want some title. Main kaun hu? Mujhe batao clearly. I want a very clearly designated title. Only then I will do something. That is why we have that other story also of Ayodhya where, all services were allotted and nothing was given to Hanumanji. But still he found a way to, engage himself by doing chutki in front of Lord Ram. So the whole concept is that you don't need service, you don't need titles, or you don't need to be always officially told what you're supposed to do. Spontaneously, you could decide how to serve the Lord. And that is exactly what Hanumanji, stands for. And another thing about Hanumanji, it is said, is that how he integrates everything in India. He is worshipped by Shaivites and Vaishnavites. He is a common factor. Shaivites also worship Hanuman because they see him as an Amsha of Lord Shiva, and Vaishnavas also worship Hanumanji. So he brings everybody together. So that is another very interesting characteristic of Hanumanji. It is said that that is because of his property as Vayu. So it is said water and fire, generally they cannot come together. But Vayu which is there aids both actually, water as well as fire. So Vayu actually supports every element. And that's kind of figuratively, but even in reality, Hanumanji gets everybody together. So we see in India, everybody worships Hanuman. He's very, even in our college, I don't know how many of you, they called you today? Hanuman Jayanti, we celebrate down. Watermelon dete, offer karke, Hanumanji ko. They called you today or you went? Yeah. They offer watermelon, they cut watermelon, they offer something in this season. Water and fire are against each other. Now, can you combine water and fire? No, but as far as Vayu is concerned, he merges with both. So there is an example given, like there is Shaivites and Vaishnavites who generally are at loggerheads with each other. But Hanumanji goes along with both of them. Both are happy with Hanumanji. Nobody has any problem with him. That is the whole concept. Whatever, they worship him, that is the point. It's not important how they. Another particular thing is that Hanuman, we call him, one of his names, there is many names, but one of his names is Vajranga. Vajranga means his anga is like thunderbolt, made of Vajra. And it is said that Vajranga actually becomes Bajranga. So this Bajranga is a, what shall I say, a contamination of that original Apabhramsh of Vajra Anga, a body like thunderbolt. So it is said that Ram also had so much faith in him that even before all the monkeys went in different directions to search, even though Hanuman was nothing, Ram gave his ring to Hanuman, knowing very well that, and it is said that Ram describes Sita's bodily features in great detail to Hanuman. So it is said that generally it takes a lot of confidence. A person should have a lot of confidence in someone to describe his wife to that person. How my wife looks. Generally nobody would like to describe that to somebody. He may think that, isko jyada bataunga to, he may exploit my wife. But Ram in great detail explains the physical characteristics of Sita to Hanuman. So that's the confidence level, that this person is having that kind of caliber. Yeah, Sita also does. So that confidentiality is an indication of, the love and the faith and the trust they had to each other. So another interesting thing about Hanumanji is that, quality. We are initially talking qualities, then we will go into some pastimes for some time. Another interesting quality is that generally there are two characteristics. One is called intelligence and one is use of body. Generally people who are intelligent are not very good at physical things, and those who are very good in physical things are not very intelligent. Generally, rarely you see a combination of both, and Hanuman is unique because he had both. Physically very powerful and yet very intelligent. Generally it is not seen like that. Those who have very strong, they are not very good at this. Those who are this, they are not very strong physically. So that is the world. But Hanuman was this thing. And the whole section where Hanuman plays the most important role in the Ramayana is called as Sundarakanda. That if in the Ramayana there is Balakanda, Ayodhya Kanda, Aranya Kanda, Kishkinda Kanda, Sundarakanda, and then Yuddha Kanda, and then Uttarakanda. That is final pastimes. So this particular place is called Sundarakanda not because of Hanuman's prowess. It is called like that because of Hanuman's beautiful singing of Lord Ram's pastimes and qualities. That is the Sundara in the Sundarakanda. The beautiful description of Ram Leela. In fact, in South India, it is considered to be a tradition that every pregnant woman should hear about Sundarakanda and that description. And if she hears that, that brings a lot of auspiciousness to her. So that's considered a very prominent culture in South. Just like in North we say, because in South in Ramanuja Sampradaya, the reading of Ramayana is very important. Just like we have Bhagavat. And in the Ramayana also they give a lot of emphasis on Sundarakanda, especially for a pregnant lady. To read about the wonderful exploits of Hanumanji. It is said to affect the embryo. So that's another thing. So it is also said that Hanuman, he was considered very intelligent because he exactly knew what to do. That means he was actually officially asked only to search Sita, but he did not stop there. He went much ahead, and he actually he gave the message, he consoled Sita, he assured, so many things he did. The official work was just to see if Sita is there or no. And he also tested the strength of Ravan. All these things he did and came. And that is why it is said he is intelligent. And it is said that he was not only materially intelligent but also spiritually intelligent. As in, material intelligence was in knowing how to deal with situations. And spiritually also because he exactly knew that though he was looking for Sita amidst all these various queens of Ravan and all these ladies dressed improperly, still he did not lose control of his mind and senses. So that was because of the spiritual intellect of his. So it is said he had both the things very powerfully. So these are some things briefly about Hanumanji. So of course one more thing about Hanuman, which basically is said by Hanuman himself. It is said that Hanuman only, he defines what are 8 characteristics of intelligence. Hanuman only defines it to Angada in the Kishkinda Kanda towards the end. But it is said that all these 8 characteristics of intelligence were there in Hanuman itself. So we'll just briefly talk about that. So the background to the story is that if you know when Angada and his team of monkeys went in the southern direction looking for Sita, first of all they come across one cave of the Swayamprabha. So there they get stuck, and when they get stuck over there, what happens is Angada becomes very despondent. He says that let us all fast unto death, let us all die over here. We don't want to live only. At that time it is said Hanuman employs Sama Dama Danda Veda with Angada in order to give him a key to get into action. So first he praises him, Sama, by telling that you have all 8 intelligence characteristics. How can you say like this? Then he employs other techniques also. He says that how can we do this? If you do this, we will be in trouble because we will lose everything. We will die and it will be very inglorious. Then he tries to cause dissension. He tells other monkeys that we should all not side with Angada. So like this he does everything. So there he describes the 8 characteristics of intelligence. So I'll just read them. We can maybe have a small discussion on them. So the first one is said to be a desire to hear. That means desire to hear means an inclination to hear what others have to say. That is the first characteristic of intelligence. So anybody recalls any real reason you can think of why this is really intelligence? That means there are 8 attributes of intelligence, Hanuman says, which are all said to be present in Hanuman himself. And the first one is an inclination to hear what others have to say. So what do you understand from this? An inclination to hear what others have to say. Yes, Madhya. Yeah, good. Yeah, so basically, all those things many things could come in it. Yeah, okay. Good. Yeah, so that means even in ordinary dealings, to be ready to hear from other people is considered a very important characteristic of intelligence. Yeah, what do you say, like for example, even those who are, even Hanuman, when he is with Ravan, the first time when he meets him, it is said that Hanuman is very much impressed by Ravan actually. That means he's wondering that this person is really a great personality. Unfortunately, he's like this. So, he kind of appreciates his whatever position also, Ravan's, capabilities and positioning. So, that is the first thing actually. An inclination to hear what others have to say. So this is the first thing in intelligence. The second thing is actually to hear. So first is an inclination. So the first is actually, now we are distinguishing between the first and the second. The first characteristic of intelligence is a desire to hear or an inclination to hear, and the second is actually to hear. That means actually to have the ability to sit and hear what others are saying. Actually to be able to do that. To sit and hear what a person is saying. Or when a person says something, so we see this also with great personality. Sometimes they have a great capacity to hear. Any quick thing comes to your mind? Any quick pastime or incident that you heard? Parikshit, in which context? Oh, of course, that he was, okay. In a very, we can say that, yes, good. Was, good. He had a lot of capacity to hear. That's one thing. Anything else? In which context, Prabhupada? Any pastime? Prabhupada wanting to hear. Okay. But I am saying even Prabhupada with ordinary people also, it is said that he would hear them. Yeah. Yeah, he was hearing, actively hearing. Active hearing means, going along with him through all those experiences of car races. Yeah. So that means the first and second character of intelligence is about developing this ability, the inclination, the wanting to hear and actually sitting and hearing. Generally if you see nowadays, increasingly with our internet technology and everything, people's hearing capacity is reducing. There are many statistics, because we are college teachers, we keep hearing. Like I had gone to Germany recently, so there was it was a conference on education. So the professors who had come, they were saying that nowadays students have a capacity to hear only some 10-15 minutes or something. Then they get distracted. Some very small time they were telling. 5 or 10 minutes. उतना ही सुन सकते. उससे ज़्यादा capacity नहीं सुनने का. They get fully distracted and they are lost. So that ability to even sit and hear, and really hear, really take it in, without getting bored, frustrated and thinking when the class will get over or whatever, when this person will go away from here. These are said to be primary attributes of intelligence, which increasingly are said to be absent in Kali Yuga. He's talking about Maharaj hearing in journey home. Okay. Yeah. He heard them for so many hours. That Ram Sadhu and all, without hearing him, no language also. I mean, they don't know each other's language, but still they were hearing. Sarvam Bhattacharya, 7 days, yes. 7 days was hearing. A capacity to hear a person out. That is more important. So these are considered first and second attribute of intelligence. An inclination to hear and an actual capacity to hear. I mean, generally, even in a husband-wife relationship, we see many times, the complaint is that the person is not hearing me. I mean, people have this a lot of complaint. Mera sunta hi nahi hai. So that means, if somebody hears another person, that itself makes a person feel very comforted. This person heard me. Or to just hear. Yes, Mataji has something to say? What is his example? For what? Hearing or not hearing? Not hearing. Oh. I wanted positive examples, Mataji. You revealed a negative example. Inclination to hear and a capacity to hear. Of course, every wife and husband feel the same thing. But anyway. So that is the first and second. Capacity and inclination. Yeah. But ultimately we understand that really people of that caliber of intelligence, can hear anybody and they can really, take the essence from that person. Correct. Like we have Jananivas Prabhu who sits in Mayapur in Bengali Bhagavatam class and hears, though he doesn't understand Bengali. So there are people like that who have a capacity to hear. Okay, I think first instead of hearing Bengali, we can first hear English lecture. Later Bengali. Yeah, sometimes there is no English Bhagavatam, there is a Bengali Bhagavatam, but it is said that he hears that also. If English Bhagavatam is not there, Bengali Bhagavatam is there, then Jananivas Prabhu is said to be sitting in the class and hearing it, because that sound vibration will purify your heart. He sits and hears the Bengali class in obedience to Prabhupada's instruction to him that you should attend the entire morning program. So बैठ के सुनते हो class. So it's hearing. Huh? Bhagavad Gita class it is? Oh really? Whatever, something. Okay, the third characteristic of intelligence Hanumanji says is ability to comprehend the basic meaning of what others have to say. Okay. That means ability to comprehend the basic meaning of what others have to say. So that means what somebody says, the ability to comprehend that. I mean, this is in English language, this is actually called as comprehension. Yeah, so that means first you hear and you can, like some people have that. Like honestly, I've seen our Vyasacharya Prabhu has this a lot. I've seen in our office and all, sometimes there is some big lecture and at the end, in an official meeting or something, he's asked to summarize in 2 lines. He does that precisely. That whole lecture he will exactly say in 2 or 3 lines. I've seen that in office, he does that very often. Huh? Here also he does, but I have noticed even in the technical circles. Because we had I'm giving material example, but like we had a conference last year. So he was the, master of ceremony. So after every technical talk, he had to summarize that talk in 2 lines. And he did such a job. All the speakers were going gaga about him. Arey, what a person. Jo mere dil mein tha, usne bata diya. He said, this is our Acharya. So he has the ability to do that. So after in that conference, after every lecture, the full lecture he would say in 2 lines. So today, so-and-so professor, he spoke about this. 1, 2, 3. I said, just 2 or 3 lines, So this is what is called as the ability to comprehend the basic meaning of what somebody is saying. That means you hear a person and then you put the whole thing in a, because ultimately, there is that is what our scripture is also, right? Full Bhagavatam is compressed into 4 verses and then you expand it into the full Bhagavatam. So the ability to compress and the ability to expand. It's very important in language. In language, the ability to actually comprehend what is being said. That's considered a very important aspect of intelligence. And a very important ability in reading, writing skills. Yeah, but comprehension is the thing, basically, which is directly there. Right? So, if this ability somebody has, he can, for example, give nice Bhagavatam classes, things like that. Because you read a purport of Prabhupada, you can exactly catch the essence of what Prabhupada is saying in that purport and elaborate. Anybody else has any other example of this? Intelligent person you have seen who is able to comprehend, what is actually being said. That's considered intelligent. Yeah. Yeah, all this master of ceremony means a person who should have this skill. Pahila 3 skill usko rehna chahiye. Ability to hear and ability to comprehend and summarize it. If he doesn't have that intelligence, he cannot have the mic in his hand in a ceremony like that. Correct, you're right. Yeah, correct. That is also resulting from this ability. Even in this Akbar Birbal story and all, you see this. Akbar gives some question to everybody like, there is one story I forgot. Who has come or something, and then different people give different answers. But Birbal actually understands what Akbar is saying and he does the right thing. Something like that. So anyway, who Akbar? Oh, really? Okay, the next characteristic of intelligence, Hanumanji explains, is good memory. Good memory is also a characteristic of good intelligence, the ability to remember. So you see some people, they remember very nicely, everything. I have seen that actually. Like I have one relative, she has the ability to remember what kind of food was cooked in which menu, whose marriage. It may seem a material thing, but still that's memory actually. Ability to remember fine details of not useless things. Sometimes that is a little bit problematic. You said that on that day to me. Not that kind of memory. Something very nice that somebody did to you. So. Yeah, Maharaj writing the book certainly is a result of good memory. That is there only. Otherwise, so many details Maharaj remembers and recalls because in 1970 he underwent those experiences and then he apparently never wrote anything. He didn't maintain a diary or anything. At least he doesn't say that. That is slightly different because at least Satsaru Maharaj had an army of some 600-700 Prabhupada disciples who did it. actually that whole Leelamrit, it was actually an effort of several hundreds of devotees. It was done that way. But in this context, and that was again done just 1 year after Prabhupada disappearing. 1978 they started writing Leelamrit. They completed in 1981. But this is something like after 30 years Maharaj started the project of writing Journey Home. So that ability to have that memory is very difficult. Most of us, we forget so many names. He remembers all the names of the people whom he met along the way. Everybody's name he remembers. Even though he must have met a person for 2-3 days. I mean, whether it is that person in Iran who accommodated him and, gave him dates and all. Sabka naam hai book mein. So many things like that. He remembers so many details, fine details of the color of dress and so many things he describes very visually, which is actually good memory, sign of intelligence. Fourth one. Fifth and sixth are related, so it goes together. Capacity to reason in favor of a proposition and capacity to reason against a proposition. That means some people have this intelligence where you take any proposition or point and they can argue in favor for it and they can argue against it. If a person doesn't have this ability, he cannot analytically, think about something. You should be able to talk in favor and against. And like for example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had this ability. It is said that how he would argue with his people. He would say something in favor, then everybody will agree. Then he will defeat all his arguments and prove that it was wrong. We hear that, right? Back and forth he would do it. So that's that capacity. Anybody else remembers any other example in this capacity? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good. About I had spoken last time. Yeah. Yeah. In his morning walks. Yeah, for and against. Good. Yeah, he can argue both ways. Yeah, ultimately you will have to take one side, but the point is in any situation you should be able to argue for and against. That is a sign of intelligence. Not only saying for. See, sometimes what happens is you get carried away, then you just keep saying for, or you just keep saying against. Yeah. Yes, Purva Paksha, correct. Very good. Acharya's commentary is based on that only. Arguing against and for a proposition. Then the seventh one he says is deep insight into what others are trying to say. That means a very deep insight in understanding why somebody is saying something. I'll give one example for it and then maybe you can have another example. Like Sanatan Goswami, we know that story of the Ishant. When that astrologer, inn owner says that, why don't you stay with me, and he's very kind, then immediately understand that this fellow, why is he so kind with us? Maybe this Ishan is carrying some gold. That means a deep insight into why somebody is doing something. Quickly understanding the conclusion. Why somebody is saying something. So this is also a characteristic of intelligence. And of course the final one is considered to be Tattva, or able to understand topics of true wisdom and spiritual truths. That is also part of, intelligence. Yeah, Mr. N and all that. Prabhupada could immediately understand. Yes, you're right. So these are 8 characteristics of intelligence, and it is said that Hanuman had all these 8, which is the real reason why he is considered very intelligent. Which was his kind of real greatness, so to speak. How we can also get it or something, No, there's nothing like that given as to how Hanuman got it or something. It just says that he had it. Yeah, he was disciple of Surya. He was an Amsha of Lord Shiva. So many things are there. Oh, how Hanuman exhibited all these, Yeah, understood. Yeah, we'll have to brainstorm out and get it out. It will be there in the Ramayana, in different places. We'll have to look at it. No, he's asking these 8 characteristics of intelligence of Hanumanji. How Hanuman depicted each of it, is it given like that in the Ramayana? He's asking. We'll have to just look at that. I have not looked at it at that way. But it's likely there should be something in that context. Should be something in that context. Okay. Huh? Yeah, there only one thing is said that the first time when Hanuman meets Lord Ram, that is the only place where you see, Lord Ram not being very pleased with Hanuman. Anybody remembers the reason? What does Hanuman do that time? First time when he meets Ram? He comes in disguise. He introduces himself as a secretary of Sugriv, which is not liked by Ram. So what does Ram do? Anybody remembers? What does Ram do at that point? He is asking Lakshman to introduce him to Hanuman. He doesn't say anything. That was Ram's way of chastising, not speaking out to him. He's asking Lakshman, you introduce him. Yeah. Yeah, embrace happens in Maliyavanta only. Yeah, it happens in Maliyavanta. Same Kishkinda only it happens. Yeah, same place. That same place, yes, that same place. That Maliyavanta temple, yeah, you're right. In Maliyavanta temple only first time Ram meets Hanuman and there only Ram embraces Hanuman. Govind Prabhu was telling recently that when Ram met Hanuman and he embraced him, that is one of the reasons it is said that why Hanuman does not give up his body. He becomes a Chiranjeeva. So Sri Vaishnavas explain, it seems, that because Hanuman's body was embraced by Ram, Hanuman felt that, my body has been blessed by Ram. How can this body die now? Because this body has been personally embraced and blessed by Ramachandra. So I will have to always remain in this world. So that's one reason Hanuman chose to remain as Chiranjeeva, always in the world. Govind Prabhu also gave the perverted, reflection of this. He said that, it's kind of, like we say, material, spiritual world, whatever the spiritual world is there in the material world in the most perverted fashion. So he said that when Michael Jackson had come to Bombay and he did a musical concert, there were so many fans of Michael Jackson, and there was one girl who was fainting just by looking at Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson, caught her and gave her a kiss. And it seems this girl did not take bath for 1 week because she did not want the kiss to go away. So he was telling that, he was saying that you cannot avoid this experience. Either you experience this in the pure sense of Hanuman experiencing that with Ram's embrace and not wanting to give up that body. But if you're not ready for that experience, you have to experience something like this. The kiss of Michael Jackson, and be happy with that. So he's saying that experience is unavoidable. Whether you wish to experience that in the pure spiritual domain or in this perverted material domain is the choice for all of us. So that was one very interesting characteristic of Hanuman's embrace of Lord Ram. There are many things that can be said. So we will briefly speak about Hanuman actually, jumping over the ocean, which we have heard several times. But that is actually the beginning of Sundarakanda. So Sundarakanda begins with this particular point. Just before Sundarakanda, the point is that, when all the monkeys are Hare Krishna. So when all the monkeys were contemplating who can jump, no one is able to say anything. Then Jambavan reminds Hanuman. of his ability. And Jambavan reminds Hanuman of his ability, and he reminds him of that childhood pastime of how he was jumping to Surya and how 3000 yojanas he jumped into the sky, and Surya then crashed his chin and caused that mark, and finally Indra, and then finally all the demigods had a major conflict with Vayu, and then they all blessed Hanuman with all powers, and Hanuman started being very naughty and doing all pranks, and the sages cursed him to forget his powers until somebody reminds him of it. So then he becomes a humble boy. So Jambavan reminds him at that right time. So Govind Prabhu always says that this past, anybody remembers what he says in this context? What is the learning of Jambavan reminding Hanuman? What is the learning from Jambavan reminding Hanuman? There's a very important learning over there. The learning, he says, is that teachers and parents are very important in the context of raising the next generation. Because the next generation can be more powerful than the previous generation. The previous generation may not have that power, but they can build that power in the next generation. So Jambavan was not as powerful as Hanuman to do what Hanuman did, but he could do the service of a teacher or a coach. So he said that teachers and coaches are very important in this world, because they can do something and they can create Hanumans, even though they themselves may not be a Hanuman. So he says that the lesson is, you don't have to be a Hanuman to create a Hanuman. Of course Jambavan is also Jambavan only, but still in that context, that you may not be able to do something phenomenal yourself, but you could help another person do something phenomenal, and that is very good. So in this context, he also says that in any ancient civilization in this world, people would try something for several generations before deciding if something is good. Like he says that when this Columbus went to America, the Native Americans who were there, something if they had to experiment, anything, how to teach, anything, how to grow crop, anything, they would experiment it for 7 generations, and then only they would come to the conclusion that this is actually the best thing to do. Are you understanding? Whereas in today's world, you come to conclusions very quickly, and because you come to conclusions very quickly, that quick conclusion can be faulty, which you come to, like even in the domain of science. Like I'll tell you, V.Shrikanth Mataji has written an article in BTG recently. If any of you read that, she gives an example. She says that nowadays what they are doing in America is they have done research, and they have found out that these potatoes which are there, like in America, Shamlila Prabhu may know because he was there for a long time. You get vegetables cut so that you don't have to sit and cut at home and all. Immediately you can open everything and phatapat cooking. But if you cut potatoes and all, it becomes dark. Correct? So it seems the iodine and some chemicals in the potato, they remove it out, and then they cut it and they put it in bags, and they are selling in America nowadays. So this they have started since the last 5 years or something, it seems. So now you can get in America cut potatoes, which will not become black because that chemical has been removed. So this devotee who's part of this research, there is a devotee lady, Mataji, who was known to V.Shrikanth Mataji, who was part of the research group, who was working in a company where they actually do this. So she told V.Shrikanth Mataji, which she writes in this BTG article, that actually in our company where we have come up with this process, no one really knows whether there is any after effect of it. But still somehow, for economic reasons, we have got the certification of the FDA, Food and Drug, कुछ तो authority रहता है अमेरिका में, कुछ तो Food and Drug Administration, कुछ तो उनका हमको seal मिल गया. So we are selling it. So the point is, today's world, everything is a quick thing, quick fix. I learned something today, tomorrow only implement it. उसका क्या परिणाम होगा किसी को मालूम नहीं. Maybe after 10 years somebody will say ऐसा potato खाने से कैंसर होता है. But by that time 10,000 people would have died. But nobody cares. So but real thing is actually to try it out. So in any ancient cultures, anything they would try for a very long time before coming to a conclusion whether it is actually to be accepted by everybody or not. I mean, you just contrast that with today's world. It's actually a contrast. Radhika Atta. So Sarvatma Prabhu is talking about Radhika Atta. How no one tried for 7 generations. Immediately it was launched and immediately it was purchased and consumed by thousands of Vaishnavas. So Ekadashi thinking, Prabhuji, chapati जैसे ही है, बाद में समझा चपाती ही है. चपाती जैसा नहीं है वो, चपाती उसमें वीट है, गेहूं है, तो चपाती ही है. My wife was asking what to do with this packet. I said we can use it to break Ekadashi. She said उसके लिए तो बहुत सा है घर में, एक ही चाहिए, फेंको उसको बाहर. No, it is not like that. It is not like that also. He is asking, isn't it true that you can bring a person to Krishna consciousness only to the level you are? It is not like that. See, even if, first of all, we are not talking Krishna consciousness. We are talking more here from material skill perspective. But even if you say Krishna consciousness, that is why I heard in one talk also, that is why you say that, if somebody becomes a pure devotee in some family, 7 generations are liberated and all we say, that is because actually that samskaras in that family actually built up. Before this person was whatever. I mean, in a very traditional setting. And now you can say, of course, by Kripa Siddhi of someone like Prabhupada, somebody from a very low class family also became very advanced. That's a different thing. Usko chodo. Generally, we are talking in a very traditional context. If you see all the great devotees, you see Chaitanya Leela, their parents, grandparents, everybody, they had a lot of samskar, which ultimately fructified in this huge fruit which came up. So it's not always like that your next generation will come only to what you are. They can do much better. And that, the role, the contribution in that is there of everybody. Correct? That whole ecosystem, who contributed in that person's development. So that's why they all get that credit also, as in they get some eligibility for liberation. Because, somebody in that family came up to that standard of a pure devotee. So it's not like that. No, not Lord Chaitanya, anybody. I mean, any Vaishnava in general, if you see, being born in families, I mean, if you take in Sri Sampradaya anywhere, the same thing applies. You cannot say that, their parents or anybody did not have that role at all. Yeah, why not? It happens. It actually happens. You preach to some person, that fellow becomes much more, बहुत आगे चला जाते हैं, जल्दी. Okay, so that is in the context of Hanuman's jump. So at that time Hanuman remembers, and then he begins this jump. So in fact it is said that when Hanuman, takes off, he needs a launching pad. So he goes on that Mahindra mountain, right? Yeah, no, we didn't see that, of course. But from there he uses that as a launching pad to jump up. And it is actually considered a jump, not flying, incidentally. Hanuman is crossing that 800 miles, by a jump. He is not actually flying like a bird. It's a long jump. It's a long jump. Where serial, that is one problem with the serial. That's why you do here. Of course. No, flying and jump is different. Come on, how can you say flying and jump is not the same? He's moving his legs. Oh, acha. Like swimming pose. He's moving his hands and feet. But anyway, the Ramayana talks of it as a jump. As a mega jump. And who are the obstacles that he comes across? The first obstacle he comes across is Mainak. Mainak comes in the form of a mountain. Asking Hanumanji to relax, take Vishram, but what does he do? He rejects that. He is not interested in, taking rest and all that. He just touches and goes ahead. That was the first obstacle, as in that obstacle was in the context of the obstacle represented by temptations that come, which tell you to relax, right? We all have this thing that, whatever, we can go easy in spiritual life. The tendency to be very relaxed in it. So that comes up again and again. Then the next obstacle that he comes across is Surasa. Second is Surasa, which is actually the competition mentality. Who is bigger? Pride. You know, Surasa is said to be sent by the demigods. So because of that, Hanuman doesn't want to kill her because he respects her as a, you know, representative of the demigods. But in that competition, you know, one becomes big. Finally, Hanuman, what happens? He can become very small as well. This is actually the real use of intelligence. He understands that there is no use of becoming too big and showing power. We'll become very small, go in her mouth and come out. Brahmaji's boon is fulfilled. Anybody who came across you went into your mouth and came out. Please let me to go. And the third one was Simhika, you know, who was a representative of envy, you know, who caught hold of the shadow of Hanumanji and was pulling it, you know. And anybody knows how shadow by pulling that person stops? What is the connection? Do you know? No, that is correct, but there is a connection actually. How by catching the shadow Hanuman stops? Why does he stop in the air? Because according to Vedic psychic analysis, our subtle body extends on our shadow. That means still where our shadow is, our subtle body is there. That is why it is said that when you come in presence of a very great personality in proximity to their subtle body, you feel the, you know, I mean, you are touched by their spiritual potency or vibrations. You know, like we say, the vibrations that a person gives, that vibration is that subtle body, you know, that shadow which is there. Like in South India, there is a very important, I mean, there's a culture that you should not step over on the shadow of, of any superior especially. Because that shadow is considered, you know, this thing only. Extension of a person's subtle body and isn't, yeah? Huh. And what happens? Okay. Tirumagasi Alvar, na? This is. So anyway, so that is why Simhika catches the shadow, and what does he do? He just, you know, I think he tears her heart open. That means he just, you know, completely tears apart envy, you know, and comes out, you know, that attitude which is there. So these are the three things that the main obstacles that come across Hanuman's way as he reaches Lanka. And it is said that, when he reaches Lanka, and when he first, of course, first he goes in the palace and everything, and he kinds of maintains his, what shall I say, gravity, even though he's seeing all these beautiful women in such, whatever poses at night, still he maintains his balance of mind, which is actually very difficult for anybody to do, but Hanuman does it, and that's considered a qualification. That means the ability to be steady. That means one quality of Krishna is called as Dhira Lalita. Dhira Lalita means in the presence of very beautiful women also you can be Dhira. Dhira Lalita. Lalita means beautiful ladies, and Dhira means sober. That means even in the presence of very beautiful women, Krishna is considered Dhira. Dhira Purush. He is not agitated at all. That's why he's called Dhira Lalita. That's why we have that pastime. Krishna is always a brahmachari. Because even though the woman around him may be extraordinarily beautiful, he is not affected at all in his mind by their presence. So very few people have that capacity to be Dhira Lalita. Hanuman is one of them. That's why he is able to do that kind of service. To going to such places and, looking at all these things. That's why Prabhupada also remarks that, so many people, Prabhupada says, sadhus came to America, but many of them came to America and got married to some white woman. But Prabhupada says that, Prabhupada actually, if you see, to go to such a place and, like in so many places where, like if you see, some earlier descriptions of Prabhupada's pastimes, like they go to that Morning Star Ranch and all, it is said the men and women would be nude only over there. They would have nothing on them. So that is the description actually. So generally for any sadhu, it is not easy to go there and maintain the composure of mind. And especially when there is nobody else around you, Prabhupada was single-handed at that time. Though somebody may say he was old or whatever, but that's not the point really. Because we know from philosophy that old age is not the solution to your contamination. So even in that old age, a person can get affected only. He does get affected. And that's what Prabhupada says happened with most of the sadhus who went to America. But Dhira Lalita, Hanuman was that. So he could stand in front of all these beautiful ladies of Ravan and not get agitated at all. He was just searching, where is Sita, in accordance with those descriptions. Only one lady he finds to be like Sita, and that was Mandodari. But then why does he decide that it is not Sita? Because he is peacefully sleeping next to Ravan in his embrace. So he understands, no, ye Sita nahi ho sakti. Sita will not sleep like this. So that's why he comes to the understanding that this is not Sita. And then he comes out, and then he comes finally to that, that garden, Ashoka garden, where he actually sees Sita. And he sees Sita, and when he sees Sita over there, the thing is, again, how he uses his intelligence to exactly pacify Sita. Because his worry is, no matter what I do, it is likely that Sita is going to misunderstand me. Because at that time, he actually sees Sita talking to Ravan. Where Ravan is coming and saying that 10 months are already over and 2 more months I am giving you, otherwise I am going to eat you up. So why is Ravan not forcing himself on Sita? Because of that curse. He understands that I cannot force, I will die. But eating was not prohibited. So he decides to eat her up alive for breakfast. So he says and he goes. At that time Hanumanji comes, and now he's thinking with his intelligence how to convince this lady that actually I am the messenger of Ram. So what does he do? He begins to sing. First he begins to sing the pastimes of Lord Ram. As she begins to sing the pastimes of Lord so beautifully, Sita is attracted. Sita begins to hear. And then slowly Hanuman comes closer. Then Sita undergoes all that experience, thinking that maybe it's Ravan only who has come in this form. But by that time, because Hanuman builds a bridge, an ice is cut. And at that time he gives that ring first. The first thing he does is giving the ring. And then he introduces himself and he says everything. Then when Sita sees the ring, she is quite pacified. She accepts that this is Hanuman. This is Ram's messenger. And then she is saying that, why does my Lord not come immediately? I have only 2 months left. This fellow is going to eat me up. And how is it possible for the Lord to bring this whole army across the ocean? Hanuman says, I am only a small messenger. I came across. Everybody will come. Don't worry. Then Hanuman volunteers to take Sita immediately. So Sita initially begins to laugh because Hanuman comes in the form of a small cat, monkey in the size of a cat. So he says that, she says that you're so small, how can I sit on you and go? Then Hanuman expands and shows what he can become. But still Sita refuses. So what are the reasons for Sita's refusal? There are many reasons. What are the reasons? One, force. Yeah, very good. I cannot touch another man. Any other reason? Yeah, very good. Yeah, so actually, in fact, this was in connection with our thing. In fact, if I read directly what she says, at least what the Acharya says in this context, this will be in accordance with the vision of Ram. Ram has come to show that no mundane solution can solve your problem. You have to utterly depend on the Supreme. In future, people will quote that when you are troubled, use some trick and save yourself from the problem, which I don't want. This is in that context of our material problem, material solution. It is in this context that Sita did not want a material solution to her problem. Because again, please remember, taking material solutions mean that your problem may get solved, but you may lose that opportunity of, going close to the Lord. But in this context, he just wanted to depend on the Lord only, and no matter what, even if that would bring death. So that means even if the problem is not solved, it's okay, but let me depend on the Lord only, and in that I will feel that spiritual elevation. And my ultimate problem of birth, old age, disease, death will be solved. So she feels like this. So she refuses to sit on Hanuman. And then what happens is, Sita herself, she basically, she gives certain things to Hanuman because Hanuman wants to take some proof that I have actually met Sita. So what are the things Sita does? 3 things she does. The first thing she does is she narrates an incident, then she gives an item, and she 2-3 incidences she narrates which happened in private. So, and the thing that she gives is the Chudamani. And what is the speciality of the Chudamani? No. Yes. No. By whom? Janaka's wife, that is Sita's mother, at the time of the marriage, had given this Chudamani to Sita in presence of Ram's parents. So there were many people involved over there. So basically the thing is that Chudamani got many people together. As in Sita's mother, Dasharath Maharaj, Kaushalya, everyone were there. After the marriage, Ram himself was there. In their presence, that Chudamani was given. So all this Sita reminds Hanuman that this is that Chudamani that I had received at this particular time. Please go and give it. And then what are the incidents she recalls? One is that of Jayanta. Yeah, that how the Lord had shot that arrow and killed him, Brahmastra, and shot his one eye. And the other thing is how Ram once used some minerals to decorate Sita's cheeks. So that is also one confidential pastime that had happened somewhere, which Sita narrates to Hanuman, to tell it back to Lord Ram. So all these things she says. Then at this particular time, when all these things happen, okay, then I'll just fast forward the story over here. So, what during there? I'm not sure. It is not there in Valmiki Ramayana. It could be there somewhere else. No, it's not in Valmiki Ramayana. There are many stories that are here and there. They may be correct, but they may not be in Valmiki Ramayana. Like for example, the squirrel story we know, na? Hanuman and squirrel. Or like the story of that Hanuman putting sindoor all over his body. Or obviously so many other stories. That diary of who is the best devotee of, one diary to maintain those who are Ram's devotees and another whom Ram remembers every day. These are all what is called as folk tales. They are not in the Ramayana, but what is his name? Rupa Goswami says that there are folk stories and there are Shastric stories, and he says that as long as folk stories do not break the philosophy, folk stories are acceptable. So that means he says that whether it actually happened is not very important. If the philosophy is right, we accept the story as some learning in it. You understood? So like that he says. But if you want to know technically what is right, you have to refer only to the Shastric story. But the folk stories can be inspirational. Like that. It is not Smriti in that context. It is not Smriti. It is just a folk tale. Yeah, it is enhanced rasa, that's all, to give a more taste. So all the Sindoor story and all is there, na, we hear. Oh, yeah, story, Hanuman ka story. Yes, sir, Valmiki Ramayana mein nahi, obviously. You can understand only, Valmiki Ramayana is of a more graver nature. It doesn't have, such kind of stories in it. Kamba Ramayana, yeah, that is a different one. But then, Valmiki Ramayana has the highest authority in terms of the book itself. Okay, so anyway, I think I'll end the session because there is too much to speak, but I'll not want to touch all that because we are quite long into the session today. Just one thing I would like to say towards the end is that, when Hanuman comes back ultimately, when they all come back, it actually comes in the Ramayana. I don't know, many of you may remember, Gaurang Prabhu ka ek lecture hua tha Lohiya Mandir mein. Kitne level mein attend kiya tha? Many years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. So there Gaurang Prabhu was saying that when Hanuman met Ram, he says, Mil gayi Sita mujhe. He was saying that the first word he uses is found, Sita I. Because he was saying that there are 3 things. found Sita and I. So if he says Sita first, then what has happened to Sita is not clear. And if he says I first, what did you do is not clear. Whether you found Sita, didn't find Sita, what happened. So the most important thing to communicate to Ram was the finding of Sita. So he was saying, Mil gayi Sita mujhe. This is how he said. And when he was saying later, actually, the Valmiki Ramayana, the verse, I went and checked. And the Sanskrit word which is there is actually, the first Sanskrit word is found only in that verse, which Hanuman narrates to Lord Ram. If you see in Valmiki Ramayana, the first word when Hanuman comes back with the message is actually found. So in local language they say, Mil gayi Sita mujhe. Kande Sita, correct. Found Sita. In Tamil also it is like that only. Kande Sita. Yeah, even in that Sampurna Ramayana movie it is like that only. Kande, like that only they sing over there. That song there. Yeah, correct. So the first word is, found in that context. Because that was the most important word. And that basically led to the embrace of, he receives this embrace of Lord Ram. So it being Hanuman Jayanti, it was auspicious to, remember these particular pastimes. Okay. 1 second.
Difference between Vajranga and Bajranga, you said?
No, there is no difference. It is called as that means one word sometimes over a period of time becomes another word. You understood, na? That means, what did you call it? Technically, apabramsha. So basically, people mispronounce it and, it distorts into some other word. There are many such things. Vajranga means thunderbolt and that becomes Bajranga. That's all. Bajranga has no meaning. But it comes from there. Bajrang Bali ki jai. Bolo Bajrang Bali ki jai. Yeah, Bajrang, the same thing. I mean, when you were saying about Maharaj's memory, I just remembered this. I had told this also when Maharaj's, this Vyas Puja that I had attended recently, in the Krishna Prabhu's house, Rohini Nandan Prabhu was saying that in 1990 when they went to Hampi, then this Rohini Nandan Prabhu in the bus, he would, it seems, always say, Bolo Bajrang Bali ki jai. In his accent, he would say that. Bolo Bajrang Bali ki jai, he would say. It seems this yatra, after 24 years, we had gone to Hampi. So Maharaj was standing with Govind Prabhu and Rohini Nandan Prabhu. So it seems Maharaj told Govind Prabhu, do you remember how he would say? And Maharaj imitated that. Bolo Bajrang Bali ki jai. He would say like that in the bus 24 years ago. So that is memory. One type of intelligence. So Rohini Nandan Prabhu said, well, I had forgotten. But when Maharaj said, I remembered that, yes, I would say like that. Any other comment or anybody wants to say something?
One more thing I had heard, and what they say is Hanuman, when he was going to find Sita, he was thinking that, why, just for his wife, why Lord Ram was, Lord Ram, why he is so much attached to his wife? He is, so much in great separation to, but when it is said, when he first met Sita, he felt that, how Lord Ram is being separated from Sita for so long, like that is all changed like that.
We can have some kirtan. So where are our